Ardús, Tosomi leis on Oberwalia, Hjol Kupla Dinne Stachum. A couple of people sent me in the homework, and I asked a couple of questions. So the correct answers to all of these questions are here. The first one was, I think that the men's hats are black. And if I just start, there's no names on any of these guys. I'm not going to embarrass anybody. But for example, Hata Navar, it's Hati Navar, but the person was very, very close to this, okay? Crucial thing here for me is a free verb, reit hofer, and the person goes with creakig. Dig me irin nahiha, so a rate would be what I'd have there, igdernashata. So most of that one, right? Norvisha exchassive, and this is the kind of phrase I like to work with. Agus, while he was. We tend to think of agus as only meaning and, but in actual fact, it also means while. And the next one was a Tishaginok I was really asking. And then again, the verb eintrick to locate or find. Did they know the answer? So for anybody who is in on Wednesday night, they'll understand these are the questions that you had to answer. Then here was another one, Hata Navar. So this Hati Navar concept caused a lot of problems for people. This one, the free verb again, future tense. Just explain of that. Irinahi was correct, which is good. Brishuk, they knew that, and they also had Aninog with the correct H on it if it was the window was broken, but a window was broken was the question there. Daim Shofa, very close to getting it right here. It would be located. And then finally, we have top marks almost for one person here. Kakpum Gwil Dov or Gwil Dov, Hati Navar Dov. The key thing was Hati Navar, right? And that was done correctly. Ray Topher was what I went for. Winford I went for here. Ray Topher and Kesh Shingan Wheel. Dabrin me rinne here there in the Shatana, all perfect. Norvishe in the Shasav. So again, I go with August A. And then the last one, Dome Dohanar, get on Daim Shofie, perfect. So that example was from A1 honors top level stuff. So guys, those who are in on Wednesday will understand what this is about. If you're just coming into the session, tough all the roads. What we're doing is we're going to go through a number of different key elements associated with the Irish essay writing task. So our overwild is corrected. And normally what I do in these sessions on Saturdays, normally I will get samples of work and look at them. So if people are to come in and join these classes in the future, you will have the ability to send me some work. And now I'm not going correcting hundreds of essays every week. I have a full-time job. I have two small kids and I've got an awful lot to do. And for a fiver, I won't be correcting essays left, right, and center. However, what I like to do, as I do in my own class, I like to take examples of students' work and try to show you in what we call assessment for learning. I try to show you where the common areas of improvement are and to try and deal with the 14 or 15 key things that I see all the time that can be improved upon. Today's lesson is going to kind of address that and bring you towards where we are in terms of the key issues. So anybody who had followed my live lessons would have some of this information already because you would have seen some of the areas that I was trying to help people with. If you've gone on some of my YouTube videos, again, you'll have an idea. But all this is in the context of essay and essay writing, essay planning. So I decided this morning what I'd do is I'd take two examples, not two particularly bad examples, but just two examples of student work that I've seen over the years and just show you as an examiner the kind of things that need to be avoided. And this isn't, by the way, neither of them are exemplars of top class work or anything, okay? But they're examples of work, student work, and I'm going to highlight a few issues in that work. So if that's okay with everyone, I'm going to do that. Just guys in the chat as we are here, people can just, send in questions in the chat and we'll deal with them as we come across issues towards the end. So I'm going to start picking up the pace here now in the big way. Okay, so if you just look, can everyone see that? Okay, we can see that. Mike, Sheila, yeah, that's all perfect on the screen. Okay, it's not too small or anything. Perfect. Okay, so this was talking about Ireland as a country. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what an examiner thinks live when they see a piece of work like this. So I'm going to I'm going to express my thoughts as I see this piece of work. And what I'm hoping here is that you will recognize some of the features of your own writing and kind of go, oh yeah, that doesn't look so good. So let's get going here. So is tír Olin I era? Oh, very good. And the start of it is very good. Ach ní féidir a héine gwil a lán fibana ike fuiláhar. Okay, that's all right. No major strong phrase in there in terms of vocab so far. Fibna ruggy. Okay, the drugs problem. Fibna carúlachta. Fine. Fibna dios diocta. We're missing an a there. August 5 on Gallagher. Okay, so they obviously took something out here. That's fine. 5 in Gallagher, the economy problem. Okay, grand. So far, I'm thinking this person has got a couple of nice phrases, so that's good. Éireann Gade, no fada, dulcius. Will me kinte gwil on 5 seo, there should be a H, imaha dorira, gone seriously. Syntax not correct here. Tá sé sulir Dundal is clear to blind. Nach will on Kulu, fada, ach na míochta, tisha correct. Heart chur erbe. Okay, very good. An drochur, unfortunately, is olamarag will dina fós in Ishlabri, fada, agus farguk lesh on realtas, and angry with the government. All right, I'll go with that. On mian on scale riv diffrul. Is the story ever any different? Okay, so looking at that piece of work, you can see that there's probably more right with it than is wrong with it. I hope everyone can see that. Yeah, there's more right with it than there's wrong with it. But there's one massive thing standing out for me. This is the first on Chéad Alt. This is the first paragraph. And there's one word that's hopping out at me right now. And that word is simply store. Right? Store or store focal is vocab. And I'm asking myself, is this H1? Definitely not. Is it H2? Definitely not. H3? Question mark. Right? So the standard that this person has, they really, even at this stage, early on, have they really hit the mark is the point. Am I, as an examiner, interested at this point? Have I been hooked? Is there something in here that tells me this person is outstanding? And the answer right now is no. You have got to understand one key concept here, which is you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And this first impression is massive. Your essay is 100 marks out of the 600, 16.6%. You have got to absolutely nail the essay. And especially for anybody now who is a November candidate, I'm just going to say straight out, if you are a November candidate, you need to understand very clearly that you only have a written paper and you do not have a spoken exam in your armory this year. So for those who are November candidates, I'd really emphasize the importance of an Chéad Alt. That's a huge thing. But the second thing then is you've got to think about vocabulary and your structure. And at the end of this session, in about 40 minutes, you're going to see I'm going to finish looking at a planning chart. And what's essential is that you can go through every single one of these sentences and take a box and say, you know what? I have in the first sentence a very good phrase or a very nice phrase. I have in the second sentence some very nice vocab. I have in the third sentence some nice vocab. You have to have a process, a plan, a checklist, quality control, whatever you want to call it. Okay? So is that okay with everyone? You've seen the first one. You kind of see or hopefully you understand my thought process is, there's a couple of issues, nothing major, but I'm not being blown away at this stage. And the key thing for me is store focal. All right, next one. Now, this is probably more reflective of where a lot of students' work is right now, okay? Because a lot of you, don't forget, especially if you're fifth year going into sixth year, you've probably missed. I've had a lot of conversations with people in the past 2 weeks in particular to say you've missed a lot of work, you're not studying for 5-6 months properly, and that you feel like you've kind of almost come back to junior cert standard and you're making a lot of errors and you know that. I think this piece of work probably sums up where a lot of people are at. So let's just look at this same thing again. If you just joined the session, as a few people have, fearful to arrive, we're going through samples, 2 samples here of student work, and then I'm going to start addressing what are some of the key issues that we need to be looking at. Okay, so again, as an examiner, I'm going to go through this. Imo hurum. Now, if there's one thing that nobody should be starting essays with, is, in my opinion, right? You know, or whatever you do, don't start with Tá me den turum, right? So I'm going to highlight something very significant in a few minutes here, but don't start with Imo hurum. I think it's a terrible way to start an essay. Anyway, Imo hurum, tá lán feibhne leis an. Okay, now you can see I've actually corrected some of this work. I took this scan from some piece I corrected previously, right? And I was looking for something specific in this particular case. Tá lán feibhne leis an Gaeilge. Okay, so leis an Gaeilge, I've corrected there, should be NG. Fuilar. There's a lot of problems with Irish right now. Okay, this is about an Gaeilge. Tauchi na Gaeilge. Tá sé solar nachhfuil an teanga ag dul an éig. It's clear that the language is not. Nice phrase ag dul an éig. Agus is cosúil nó fada an de you go mbeadh aspa sima leis na teanga. That there would be, it seems that there would be a lack of interest with the language. Sa scolana. So first of all, that should be sna scolana. Tá an dearca I Dave na Gaeilge I measc na nalty, should be Tisha Ginneruk. Galore booked. Good Lord, what is that? Okay. And they're trying to say, I can understand what they're trying to say, which is they're saying that the attitude towards the language is poor, right? So the term is Jarka Dultuk I Dave na Teanga, right? Or Ilen na Teanga. But they're really making a hash of that phrase. Then, Tá lán dalti is fua lehi. Oh my God. This is not good. There's a lot of students who hate it. Ag fua lehi, ag stadir Gaeilge. So we're missing fathers, con an chastis hotrig, August na harteshta. Now, there's no reason to have August na harteshta here. August an artesh, there's no tishaginut there. Why would you have that? Shin an fa, that's the reason. Dairok dalti. Now, they're trying to say students will give up the language. Okay? Dairok, and should be EODH. So the basic verb is wrong. Oh my God. Asan Gaeilge, nor tashid a kriechnig manskul. So anytime you'd have an ing verb, you'd have manscolia there, but just everything about this is wrong. Asan Gaeilge. Níl found Laura. Okay, they've no Laura LAB. Oh God, Ein Faran Laura leis an teanga leis na dalti no a bheith ran fartach fada so Gaeilge sha. Oh God, they said sha. Yeah, tá an teanga I mbuil. Yes, I agree. The language is in danger. Agus tá gá le na haraha. Okay, guys, this is a car crash. If it was at Leaving Cert time, this is a car crash essay, okay? Because you have got nothing in terms of the 3 pillars that we need to have. Store, which is vocab. Crinus, okay, which is accuracy. And then Leofox, which is fluency, i.e. ability to convey an idea. Okay? So for me, as a Mútar Gaeilge, I'm looking at this and I'm going, oh, good Lord Jesus, this is not good. And if I have to correct the rest of this and they decided to write 3 pages, I'm really not looking forward to this. This is the first paragraph and I'm already, kind of trembling with fear as to what I'm about to encounter. Is it H1? Not in your Nelly. Is it H2? I can keep going here, guys. Is it H6? Right now, very much in the H6 or possibly lower category because there's so many issues with it. This essay at best might be getting 40 right now, which is just the bare H6. Okay? So in terms of standards, I'm hoping that will help a few people that that you can see where the stuff is. Now, there's a few questions in here. Is it okay to record Ger? No, you can record the voice Ger, no problem. So if you want to know that. What does dull and egg mean? It means in decline, right? So Tanchanga dull and egg, the language is in decline. Is it okay to record? No, Ger, you've got that now. So it's not okay to record this. There is a recording of this, Ger, that'll be made available through my own channel. If you're just recording it for the purposes of yourself, that's fine. But if you were planning to share it with anybody, no, that wouldn't be kosher. Kevid Lahanach of Woolhod done Ashta, Tomagler H1 or H2. Kesh Intach or Fad Laura. Okay. Volhin Sheched Focal Gule, right? So 650 words, but no more than that. Okay. I would never go over the 650 mark because it's about quality, not quantity. If you've 2 pages and kind of a bit, the answer books have got a margin both sides. So with that, I'd be saying, look, you're going to write 220 words, maybe 250, depending on the size you're writing, per page. So that's a solid 2.5 pages. 2.5 pages, 3 max, really high quality stuff is where you want to be. You don't want to go away and do what some people do, is write 1,000, 1,100 words. Terrible. All you're doing is diluting your language. So hopefully, Laura, that answers your question. Okay. All right. So I get rid of the chat there and we keep going here. Is this okay, guys? Just let me know. Is this okay? Are people seeing something? Are we getting something from this? Give me just in the chat there. Tell me, where are we? Yeah, Sheila's saying, okay, you can give me a thumbs up on the different screens as well. And I can see something now. I have different things here at the moment, so I can only see certain people. But just let me know what's going on here, guys, in the chat, so I can stay on top of this if possible. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do now is going to take a look. And today is not designed to solve all your problems. Today is about awareness. It's about trying to raise your understanding about, or your appreciation for, the importance of crinus, leaf, store fuck. Okay. And at the end of this session, as I say, when we get to just before 1 o'clock, we'll be looking at a sample. I'll be kind of giving you a sample plan that you can take and start applying to your work. And hopefully as we go forward, this will make a big difference. All right, let me write. Okay, so this is something I'm working on at the moment. Store focal, vocabulary, COVID-19. This is very simple, guys. If you don't have the vocabulary for the topics, whether it's on Veiltriel or Capadorot, whether you're going for an Ashta, an Orod, a Dishborot, if you haven't got the vocab, you might as well not turn up, because you're not going to get anything over H5, right? It's simply not possible, because you are limited, you are capped with respect to every other candidate who has got the work, who has got the information. So the one thing I want to get across to you today is you've got to have the vocab. That requires time, effort, work, constant practice. And what I'm not going to get to it today, but what I always work on is the idea that you have nice, what we call tusna haberta, nice starter phrases. So I have a very specific lesson on that I'll be doing later in the year. And then the good question there from Aga, I'll come to that in a second. You've got to have the nice phrase, you've got to have the vocab, and it's got to be grammatically put together very, very solidly. So that's what it's about. By the way, if you're not aware of it, the likes of Sheila and co, who've been here before with me, would understand. I am absolutely against learning off essays. It is the worst thing you can do to yourself, especially if you're good, because you will be terrified, and I mean terrified, going into the exam. And if the wrong question comes up for you, as happened particularly in 2019, you could end up getting a flat 0, as hundreds of students got in 2019 because of misinterpretation about an essay around the health service, right? It wasn't about the health service, that was the point. So I'll explain that in my course at a later point, but for the purposes of those who maybe are unsure about who I am and what I'm about, I don't teach. I give you exemplar essays. Don't get me wrong. You have exemplar essays. Anyone who's bought my course would see that. But you're not going to be taught to go and learn those essays. I'm going to teach you the vocab from them. But what I try to do is get you to take something out of every single one of them. And the store fuck is one bit, but the phrases that allow you to write the sentence are another. Okay. I'll come back to some of these questions in a while, guys, because I want to just keep going if I can. So, but don't forget, I will come back to them. So, Storefo, you can see some great phrases in here, guys. Okay, wonderful stuff. But there's serious vocab there, but more importantly, there's serious grammar involved in them. And the only way that you're going to have your crinus correct on the day of the exam is if you understand, for example, take this one, right? There are two terms there, diosdiuct, which is unemployment, and pandem, which is an epidemic. That is part of the second declension, and diosdiuct is part of the third declension. Eokiuct doesn't change, it's the first noun. The issue here is that when you're going back over your work, you will not have the ability to check your accuracy, to know whether you're right or wrong when you're doing it in the first place, unless you understand the grammar elements. And one of the things I'm really big on is going and doing the work now, early in the year if possible, so that you understand what the key grammatical elements are. Because for a lot of people, this is complete gobbledygook. So if I was to ask you a question, and you can give me the responses in the chat here, how many people would say they have no idea where a H goes when it comes to the Irish language? You know, like just that you're guessing. So how many people? So if you're struggling with this, send me a chat and say, yeah, struggling, kind of know it. Just send me a response into the chat so we have an idea as to where this stuff goes. I'm specifically asking about a H. So like, if I go down here, do you know why this is Achfani Vresha, right? And if you don't, just send a few comments in here in the chat. Give me an idea and keep you engaged so we know what's going on. Where are people with this issue? Because I know from teaching that this is, for most people, a hugely cloudy area and one that, you know, you don't want to know about. And in actual fact, it always comes back to catch you. So, point made, right? I learned where the H's go, but I'm not sure why they go there. Okay, that's a very good way of putting it, actually. That you maybe learn where they go at any given time, but you're not sure why. Okay, so storefuckle, guys, it's a huge issue. It's one of the key things, one of the three pillars, as I say. You've got to have it. You've got to have storefuckle. You've got to have crinus. You've got to have leafos. Now, this might sound ridiculous, but I can tell you with certainty that a huge problem for every single person sitting in front of me right now, sitting out there somewhere in the cloud. By the way, I'm in Tullen, County Clare, so I'm a long way from the heart of where many of you are. But are there any Clare people in here? I wonder. You can let me know if there are. But if the basic verbs are wrong, it looks horrific, guys. And if I was to just go back, right, go back to the essay work here, okay? A creeknig manskull. I don't know, do you recall this? Okay, a creeknig manskull. Okay, like it's not the way we would use that verb, first of all, and they clearly have no confidence in the second conjugation verb. So a verb wrong is going to stand out. So here's the thing. We've got regular verbs, but we've got the briefer realta, and I'm always saying, if you can't say them like bere fight tur albert tarte closten, if you don't know that those are the irregular verbs, and be, which is ta, if you don't know those verbs like that, you don't know them, right? And you need to know those verbs specifically, perfectly. The first conjugation, the second conjugation, both of these are regular, okay? And again, these terms, conjugations, regular, irregular, okay? If you don't know these, you are building a house on sand, because you will not have, and I'm especially talking about the oral exam here now. So you might get away with the essay writing because you might be able to learn something off and you might get away with it, right? But I guarantee you one thing for certain. If you do not know your verbs, you will not get away with it in the oral exam. And the reason is we speak 5-6 times quicker than we write. When you're writing, you've time to think about these things. When you're speaking, you don't. And that's why you've got all this stop-start stuff going on in your language. So first thing first, verbs got to be right. Biff.cd is how I teach. I have a video up online and people love it. So you can go and take a look at that, biff.cd. The next one, I'll come back to that another day though with the people who will be part of my group going forward. So it's Berry Fifek Turawar Tarte Clush Dane. My current record in a first year class for this is 1.46 seconds, I think the girl got recently. So we have these biff.cd wars inside in my first year class. Anyone's ever been there would know this. So Berry Fifek Turawar Tarte Clush Dane. You got to know those. And the verb be, which is the verb thought to be, is also one of the regular verbs. So essential that you know them. Again, I guarantee you the people sitting in front of me that don't know what those are. I have this structure that might help you a little bit, and I am rushing through here, but it's got to be done today. Basically, the structure of Irish verbs in past, present, future, I'm sure Katja, I'm sure Loch, I'm sure Oshnuk. Basically, I use a system, a 1 and 5 system, 1 and 2 and 5 for the present tense and 1 and 5. I use a numbering system to let people see that basically every verb up here, if you look at the pronoun, right? Every single verb in the Irish language follows this pattern. You only need to learn number 1 and number 5 because all the rest of them follow the others. So if we go here, I'll just fill it in for you here. So, for example, if you want to say the verb is to, obviously, you want to say they will be. It's beg is number 1. It's beg, she'd. Basically, you only need to learn 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You only actually need to know 7 verbs in the 3 main tenses to know all of them, if that makes sense. And people spend an awful lot of time trying to learn them in lists. It's no good to you. It's impossible. You got to learn the structure and how it's put together. And again, this is something that I work with people on during the year. The Céad Réim Nua, this is very easy to kind of get into your head because basically these are all single syllables. Okay, so Póg, Glán, Brish, etc. So in Céad Réim Nua, the first conjugation, right? The second conjugation, this is where all the fun starts, right? So if I asked in the chat now someone to just type in, what is the Irish for it will be bought? Could someone put it in for me, right? Now, if you know it perfectly, maybe leave it out. But those who want to have a guess, it will be bought. Could you tell me what it will be bought is? Ah, very good. Well done, Ger. Full marks to Ger straight away. Cantor. We're missing a father there, Ger, is the only thing. All right. We will answer. There's one. Fragger. The verb is fragger up here, right? We will answer. What is we will answer? So if you can't instantly reply to those, looking at these, you should be able to look, and you've got IL, IR, IN ones, you've got all these ones, immer, inish, the IGHs, the ILs, the INs, IRs, these are problems. LLOEs, Fragromid, well done, you've got the syncopation right. You've got to know how to work with these. And guess what people do? They avoid, like I'm asked every day, from different people, how could I improve my essays? How can I make a huge difference to my work straight away? My number one answer is go and learn the second conjugation verbs and start using them in your written language and particularly in your spoken, in your Béiltriad. You've got to start working on these because what you're doing is you're leaving aside a whole series of the language that is not available to you. If you've no confidence in how to do these, right? Moreover, something. So moreover, Dinas and Iraq, right? People will be killed in Iraq. If you can't say that, you are going to limit your hamstringing yourself, if you want to use that phrase, and it's going to create a lot of issues for you. So that's number one hint today is start working with that. This is an issue that people really struggle with. It's called syncopation. It's basically the removal of vowels. And if you have the word like boggart, to threaten, syncopation means you basically take out these two vowels here and you create a scenario where you've got two consonants together. Okay, so if you take out the I here, you've got the T and the L together. So effectively the root then becomes, if it's like present tense, it'd be bogrian. If it's future tense, it's bogroig. But there's a critical thing here, guys. The original verb bogger, right? It had a slender, E and I are slender vowels. So you would have been thinking I need a slender ending. But in actual fact, that's wrong, because when it's syncopated, it now needs a broad ending. And all these little things are essential things that I would be bringing you through that you need to know. So there you can see how these verbs, past tense, vagar, cheannig, yultig, detel, huckrig. Now, the most commonly used second conjugation verb in the Irish language is cheannig, because guess what? If I say to you, Inish Dumfrey der Shaften a Shokacha, tell me about last weekend in the oral exam, you'd say, Huig me gadia nonut antona shupadorta August cheannig me milchan, right? Okay, great. Yeah, I'm delighted. I heard that 50 million times. But is there any chance you could say to me something like, Detel me timpel in a tira le munkel August warg she kupla in, you know? My uncle drove, or I flew around the country with my uncle and he killed a few birds, right, with the plane or something like that. Like, the point is, people do not use so much rich language that you could be using if someone just showed you how to do it. And again, that's where Johnny will come in to help you somewhere along the line. You may recognize this phrase. Does anyone know where this phrase comes from? We should know this if we've done on trial. Ke a durt e sha. Who did this? And if in the chat you can give me the answer here, guys. Who said this? Sokroisha shahu. Mahu avatu, right? Bani khasi. This'll sort you out, right? Again, go back. Would you know where that came from grammatically? Would you know how to do it? Mamwara, mahu. So we need to work with this, not just, the point is, this isn't just about essay writing. I'm trying to get you to understand that if you work on specific elements of your language, you will be able to not just improve your essay writing, you will not just improve your spoken, you will improve all levels of accuracy in your work. And, you know, the approach I take to the Beiltree, just so you understand, and Capadort is, the store focal I was talking about earlier, I try to cover two elements so that you end up, you know, kind of killing two birds with one stone. We're doing a lot of killing birds here this morning. Killing two birds with one stone with the kind of approach that anything that helps you to speak will help you to write. And that's what we want to get to. Okay? Now, here's something this morning, huge thing that causes so much trouble, which is Ser Briher Ser. I have a lovely little phrase for you that might help you remember this. I just refer to as Uktar Farfi, right? Maybe wrong color there, Johnny. Uktar Farfi, okay? So it's just the pronunciation of it. So Ug helps people to remember the past tense. So it's pronounced fog or fog, depending on where you're from. The ones that cause all the problems, we've been doing a few of them here this morning, is the Mokaniluk one, right? The fees, right? These cause a lot of issues, and that's something to look at. Just something that keeps coming up the whole time, something you can immediately apply to your writing this week and your spoken. After the word kupla in Irish, we always have the singular, okay? Now, when you think about it, in English, you say a couple of dogs, kupla madra is what we say in Irish. If you say, the one that you should all know is kupla dinna, isn't it? The kupla dinna out. There's a couple of people there. You should connect with that. And I always say with grammar, the thing is to have a hook, something you remember. One I'll be looking at in a few minutes, well, actually, I'm not sure what I'm going to do today, is the or nahar, you know, or nahar, tar nav. Or nahar, after or, it's an uru with a vowel. So always try and find a hook. The biggest one that everyone can improve straight away is the uru, right? Dead simple, right? In Tishel Torhook, we call this. So that's something you can do. So Ser Briher, uru, kupla, there's three very quick, fast ones in 1 minute that everyone can take away today and go, yeah, I can start applying some of these. Well, Ser Briher, that's going to take a serious amount of time. But the uru, everyone can do this. There's the urus there's only 7 of them. So after Eran, Egan, Asan, Quigan, Leshan, any of those, you put in the uru, if possible, and if not, you leave it alone. And then kupla. That's something everyone can apply today. So hopefully straight away you've been given something there that'll help you. Now, let's get into the real big meat of the day. And I'm looking at the time and I'm conscious of it, but I will get there by 1 o'clock. Firinchganuk means masculine. Buinchganuk means feminine. Now, by the way, I'll put in a new slide here, guys, because there's one thing I didn't do. And it's really important to me today that I make sure all of you are aware of two resources. Chonglan.ie is the digital Irish language dictionary. Now, if you look here, right, there's the English Irish dictionary. Hold on here now, we'll give you a demonstration, right? There's my English Irish dictionary going back, I don't know how many years ago. 1 second here. I think there's even a sticker from Eason's on the price. Look at that. It says pounds. It does. £13.50. Right? Can you see that? No, can you see that? £13.50 in Eason and Galway. Right? That's where that was bought. And you can see it's pretty frayed at this stage. That's the English Irish dictionary. The other day I killed a bee in class with one of these, and someone said he's after killing a bee with the Bible, right? It isn't actually the Bible, but it looks like a Bible. And the funny part of that story was I nearly sprained my bloody thumb when doing it because the thing slipped, and I actually put the full force of my thumb on the edge of the book, and I thought, oh God, what have I just done? Anyway, bottom line here, guys, this is the Bible. And most importantly, you can see Neil O'Donnell, right? The entire dictionary, everything you need is online and free to every single one of us. This is the single best Irish language resource on the internet, chonglan.ie. Now, it's really powerful. And if you're part of my courses, I'll show you how to use it so that you can become an independent, an independent learner. And the idea is, like, I'm not a translation service, and I have no time for people sending me on, loads of phrases saying, well, could you tell me what this is, that and the other? That's helpless stuff, right? If you want to improve, if you're serious about improving, what you've got to do is you've got to take the information that I give you and you've got to try and make it your own. And the way you do that is by using your dictionary, by using your glossaries. So Chonglan is one, right? The other one, actually, I'll put up a new slide here because I want you to have this as well. The other one, a huge one, in case you don't know it, is putafocal.com, right? And Putafocal has Putafocal, what am I doing here? Putafocal, we're nearly there. Putafocal.com, that's .com, chonglan.e. Putafocal is an amazing glossary. And, for example, if you wanted to put in something like refugees, right? Okay, if you type in refugee and you go to the glossary, it'll give you all these different contexts for it, right? So here's an example like, Campi Tefa Palestinacha. Now, if you recall, one of the pillars that I spoke about earlier was store focal, is vocabulary. As an independent learner, which is what I want you to become, you can go away and you can find these phrases. And what do? You get your dictionary, you get your glossary. When you find the phrase, you write down the Gaeilge, you write down the English if you need it, and you decide to learn those phrases. So you've got to add 15, 20 phrases to your armory every day if possible. If you're a mature student, for example, and you're hearing a lot of people on here today, you're not in class every day. You need to find that 1 hour every day or that half hour every day at 5:30 in the morning where you're doing nothing but learning Gaeilge, right? I'm kind of serious about the 5:30 in the morning, especially if small kids, the only chance you're going to have. But the thing about it is, guys, what's the learning process? People are absolutely obsessed with these, right? If I give a task in class, students turn around and they start working on the phone straight away. Not the way to go. The way to go is to use the traditional pen, well, this iPencil, traditional pen, write down stuff in a notebook. Every single one of you, if you haven't got one now, go out and buy that size of a notebook and start filling it with vocabulary. And when it comes to writing essays, you'll have that. When it comes to deciding what you want to talk about for your oral, you'll have that. Start building your language independently. And it will also give you great confidence. And you might say, okay, right, that's grand, John, but I've got like 2.5 hours of maths homework tonight and whatever. I fully understand that, but you also have probably a number of downtime periods where you're spending an hour looking at Netflix, or you're spending far too much time on, things that don't matter this year. This is a really important year. It's a unique opportunity. You've got to do something different if you want to get something you've never had. And that's the bottom line here. So you've got to find the time, you've got to cut out certain things, and you've got to start building your language in a way that makes a difference. Again, if you're looking for the just bare H4, you might be saying, I'm not going to do that. If you're a mature student, you've got to do it. If you're a student in school every day, you might get enough from what you do in school. But anyway, that's another day's work. So 2 wonderful resources, guys. Putthefocal.com and chonglan.ie. They're the 2 best resources on the internet for the language. Okay, very quickly. I, again, have lessons up online on these, but these are 2 things you've got to start working on. The Tishaginaruk, specifically understanding the difference between the Tishel Amnuk and Tishaginaruk. Now, we had people earlier saying that they were struggling with. By the way, is this all going okay, guys? Are you all bored to death? Are you fed up? Is it hard to get a H4? It is not hard to get a H4, Eloise, if you put the work in. Straight up. That's a great question. Are we all okay here? We're still online. We're still alive. I don't see much going on in the chat. Maybe you're just fed up with me at this stage and you've gone off watching something else. I don't know. But just tell me, are you still okay? Is this going okay? And we'll keep motoring on here. All right. So Tisha Amnuk, the nominative case, and then Tisha Ginaruk, the genitive case. The bane of most Irish language learners' lives, because they don't have a clue what it is and it's never been explained to you. Again, this is something I go through in detail, and just these 2 charts are fantastic. If you have a phone, you can take a picture of the screen or screenshot it. Fantastic little thing that I created a few years ago just to make it really easy to understand. Masculine and feminine nouns, what happens, where the H is, where the T goes, etc., etc. This will only help you if you understand the whole lot of it. I won't have time today to explain it, but the point is, in the context of essays and essay planning, you've got to know about your Tisha Ginaruk, your Tisha Anamnuk. You've got to know about a K declina, dar declina. Declensions. This is a really, really important element. Understanding there's 5 different declensions. Declensions are grouping words with similar properties, okay? And basically the end of the word is what we're talking about when we're talking about declensions, right? So anything that ends in A for N, E for A, D, wicked, winyol, A in itself, monair, any of those things, right? Bus, S Latin, broad S. There are all these patterns within the language that allow you to take individual words and manipulate them. And that is what we've got to learn. So I have examples here of what happens with the word horse on couple. So the horse, there's no H in it, right? If we go back 2 charts, you'll see why. It's in the Tishel Anamnuk. It begins with a consonant. It's masculine. The blue is masculine, okay? And it's got no H. There's no change in it, right? And then Cuigan Couple Stocks of Fork, Tishama, perfect, ton the Couples of Fork, Shine Stablan Couple. So we have 2 words. One is the horse, and this is of the horse. This has got a H and an I. Why? It's in the first declension. It's determined by 1 letter, the letter I, where you're trying to slender the end of words. And then if we look at something like the second declension, all these practice things here, I won't have time to go through it now, but the second declension, they're feminine words, okay? Again, they've got similar properties. And here you've got an easy one to remember is on Chocton. If it begins with S and it's feminine, you put a T before it, on Chocton Shokacha. So on Chocton. And on Ficterlin is one you all know. But then Ta and Ficterlin Nua, Tishel Amnuk. The cinema is new. Ta Don the Picterlin a Gujas. On changes to Nad. This is really confusing for people. You drop the H, you slender it out, you add an E. Slendering it out and adding an E, that's standard in the second declension. So the point is, guys, you've got to know, see, it's defined by the letter E, as I say, you've got to know what's going on with the different declensions in order to manipulate the language you're learning. And that's across everything. It's not just essays, it's spoken, it's every other element, okay? Now, don't have time to go through all these. I have all these exercises to do with people. If you couldn't answer all of those right now, you simply wouldn't know either for spoken or written, the level of accuracy you need to have. So go back to that H1, 2, 3 idea. Anyone who's getting H1s, 2s, or 3s have an understanding of this, I can assure you, because their accuracy just won't be there otherwise. You're not going to get a H1 without understand this. Might as well tell you now, unless you have the most phenomenal ability to learn stuff off, and you're a cool candidate that does not in any way get flustered on the day of a difficult exam topic or title. Okay, so that's another element. The Tisha Ginneruk, the Declensions, all got to be dealt with. Okay, other things like Uruza mentioned it earlier. There's a very simple thing here that will help you a lot. D&T don't change in the Tisha Ginneruk, and they don't change for Egon, Eron, Leshon, Quigon, any of those, right? So D&T, they do change, right, when it's something like, for example, Mohyok, right? You put a H in it there. But in Tisha Ginneruk, you don't need anything. So, for example, on Chok, it's Durson T. If you've never thought about it like this, there's no H in it, right? So on Chok, Durson T. But Mohyok, which is not Tisha Ginneruk, does take a H. So the reason is D&T don't get changed in Tisha Torhok or the Tisha Ginneruk. Again, all things that at some point I'll be going through. Now, we're nearly there, guys. Plan on the hashtag. Planning of the essay. This is critical. So I have just here 2 examples. I have a chart, right? And basically the chart is what I want to explain. Essentially, we're talking about a topic here. Politicians. It's come le poltor in the free tier. Politicians don't care about the country, right? General essay title. Okay, I have this chart, which is basically make a specific point, try to include some opinion. Have you got the storefocal, and have you got your verbs right? Okay, so this will help you quite a bit, because essentially with a 600, 650 essay, you're going to end up with about 8, 9, 10 paragraphs, depending on how you do it. And the essential thing is to plan before you start writing each sentence in terms of what are the key things, what are the highlights that you're going to have. So in this case, the main point is politicians don't care. What is the point you're making? They don't care. So some kind of shanukal about politory, if possible, in the first sentence. Something about a scandal in the news. Something about a couple of scandals. List them off in sentence 4. Some kind of vision statement, focus on the problem. And sentence 5, kupla retok tega. So a couple of kind of immediate solutions that you could have, right? And down here, some verbs I'm going to use in this paragraph. Tursh Giter, it is reported. Krohok, it would create, right? And the way that pans out then, or pans out, should I say, is your statement is effectively, is cumulation of politory food. The politicians don't care about us. So, cat and cronan, right? It's for his own good that the cat is purring. In other words, we're kind of saying the politicians are out for themselves. Yeah? Does that make sense? So that's where you use a shanukal. And you don't have to use the phrase the whole time, Mara deran shanukal, as the shanukal says. You don't have to say that all the time. But here's the sentence. So, le blianta bioga anuas, for many years now, Turshgiter, it is Turshgiter, Scanal nua elefrin gors politula targwin in Aaron Bilgnut got law or Bilgnut got me. So almost every month now for many years, another scandal has been reported, right? Turshgiter is reported about the political system. So that's your sentence, right? Then in the next one, Margwina Og as a young person, Ní higam quidward and star. I don't understand that. The history as a young person, August Enisha, and the evidence of winning the scale to Ufosh or no sna, right? Tostolica, Carvaxok, Olcaticus, or Hunskin of Fibli, no gear came na tihiok their foot natira. Now, go back to the very start, guys, and that first essay that I was showing you. And I was saying the person didn't really hit home any store focal. In the second one, it was completely absent effectively. But here, very on in sentence 3, right? We've got the cervical testing scandal, over expenditure on public projects, and the housing crisis. Can everyone see that the store focal is getting in there early? But on top of that, I've also used a very nice and not as common shanukal in that first sentence. So what you're doing here immediately is you're identifying yourself as somebody who's different and is writing differently. Okay? And then we can just continue on here. I'm using the verb, right? So a good verb used well, dog, grow, hoke, right? Now I just want to make a point here and move on quickly because I do want to finish at 1 if possible. And down here, last sentence, ridden a hash to show, play make cúpla five atá, cúpla, singular, cúpla five, atá gwyn, atá crema dóchas na cos winter satir show. And just this point, I've just done a very simple thing. Cúpla with singular, a crema dóchas na cos winter, right? So it's kind of gnawing away at the hope of the proletariat, the common man. And I've just taken some simple phrases and I've turned them around with the Tishiginok, with the grammar knowledge I have. It isn't that they're necessarily massive phrases, it's the way they're put together. And that's what leaves the lasting impression. Accuracy. I can zoom out of this, no problem, Ella Louise. Okay? And all of these notes, Ella Louise. By the way, just for anyone who's not sure, all of the notes I have here that I've gone through will be available to people who are subscribers in my course, right? All this stuff is in there. So that will be available, okay, to those who are subscribers. And that's where. And just one little thing I forgot to mention at the very start about one of the S's we looked at, if it's okay. I just want to bring it back to it. One huge thing here, guys, right? And I really, really, really want to make this point, and I'll finish on this and start getting questions then. The one thing you do not want to do is taw this, taw that, taw the other, and absolutely murder the verb to death, right? I don't know how many taws are in this, but there's a lot. And you do not want to have taw at the start of a sentence at all, if possible, throughout the entire essay. And that is the whole point of the kind of phrases that I would be giving people as we go on. So basically, guys, that's more or less it for today. I was hoping to pack in, and I hope I have packed in a lot of stuff. So before you go, a couple of things. I will be starting my first official set of classes next Saturday at 12 noon. This time, next Saturday. From next week, you can go to the website, but more specifically, if you go to courses.leavingcertirish.com, I'll just give you the list here. So if you maybe take down this or you save the page, it's courses.leavingcertirish.com. What am I doing here? So I can actually show you it here. Egypt. I'll show you it here, guys. Sorry. Courses.leavingcertirish.com. If I go in here to the browser, you'll be able to go in. So it's courses.leavingcertirish.com is where I sell all my courses. Okay? So if you want to buy anything, this is where it will be. And the courses for the, just ignore what's there for the minute. The courses for the live courses, there's a new section going to go in here on next Tuesday, I think, is the date. Today's the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th is Tuesday. So there'll be a new section there. You can buy the live courses. It's 4 at a time. So it's 4 live lessons at a time. In other words, you'll pay €20 and it's the 4 Saturdays of each month. And starting next Saturday, which is the 17th. And what you get is you get the notes, obviously, for the class. Now, those classes will follow what will be the new premium course for 2021. There are people who purchase this, but you will be the people who are doing the Leavingcert for 2021, who purchased this very recently, are being put into the 2021 course. There will be new course here. That's essential in order to get the most out of the Saturday classes, because the Saturday classes are essentially looking at sample answers, and crucially, they're looking at updated topical information. So for, let's say, the oral element that will be in some of those Saturday classes, particularly in January and February, you're looking at the key information, the key vocabulary that you need relative to anything that's topical. So Saturday lessons are not included in the premium account, okay? So what I did, guys, to make it more affordable for people was previously I charged 150 for the whole year, which was the premium content, the self-paced content, and the live classes. This year, because of COVID, I cut the price by 2/3 to €50, which is price of one grind. That's a phenomenal amount of information in it. But you pay on a first come, first serve basis for the Saturday classes. There may be a Wednesday class as we get busier, but that would just be a repeat of the Saturday class. There's one live class a week and looking at one key issue. Now, normally during Easter, I put on additional classes where you can go in, you can pick a specific single topic class. And I may end up having to do that at Christmas this year if the schools are shut down. But last year, as Sheila and others there could vouch for, I gave a huge amount of stuff to people for free. Clearly, this is a business. It's a passion, but it's also a business, and I have to make some money. So I hope you understand that. I think for a $5, you won't find anyone else giving what I'm giving for a $5, guys. And if you do, show them to me because I'd like to see it. And you can also check out my testimonials from people who were here before, and you'll be able to see very clearly. There's a few of them on YouTube video testimonials, and there are others as well.